Okay. All right, here we go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Have attention, please. All quiet, please. Thank you. Go ahead, have your notes out. We're going to be continuing doing the notes on the Mao years, and we'll pick it up in 1958 with the Great Leap Forward campaign, which is actually where we are in the other class as well. So tomorrow, with the Green Day, I will be covering this same material, okay, with those guys, and I'll post your video up on YouTube, and so people know that people are at home, they know they can access the YouTube video because I upload it the same day that I do it, even though I put the link to it like, you know, several days later. Subscribe, subscribe, get the videos right away. This is important to take note because those of you all at home, you're going to get 5 videos next week and 5 the following week. Because it's coming together time for the blue and the green. People are already trying to stake out their little territorial claims on their desks where there is, let me see, I think 4 of you guys have desks and so forth. If you're at home, don't worry about it. Just kick your feet up, watch, and so forth. It'll all be good. Here is one thing, though, that is going to happen, and I'll tell you this. Okay, you guys ready? Let me tell you. Okay, we're going to be doing notes in here, and to the extent that I'm not going to give additional work at home, so because you're going to be here every day, I'll be able to include some of the videos in the class. So we may get to it today. I'm not sure. I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, okay, we'll get to this, and then we can start. I mean, already got it assigned. At home, people are going to have to watch it and so forth. So as soon as I start showing it for you guys in here, we'll just turn it off, and then the at-home folks can watch it directly. They don't have to watch the indirect screen kind of thing. Yeah, and actually, I don't like doing that because I don't want YouTube to go, copyright violation, and ixnay on the entire video that I've done, including the lecture. And on Monday, when you guys come in, we'll continue watching that. We'll watch the first of the 2 episodes on the Mao years. The one that is called Catch the Stars and Moon, 1949 to 1960. Okay? And then that'll be on Monday. And then Tuesday, we'll probably have it wrapped up by then, and we'll start doing more notes. And then at some point in the week, next week, then I'll show you the video for the second part. I'm actually very happy about that because I like making sure that you guys watch and take in the full impact of what was going on, because it's crazy. Okay? I know in my mind I'm still kind of going through, like with the juniors. What do you think? Should I show them the documentary on the rape of Nanking? I know it's a hard one, isn't it? Yeah. But I mean, it's like some documentaries you just kind of have to see. And I really felt bad because the movie Schindler's List, we saw half of that in class. Although some of you guys watched all of the documentary information about Schindler, which is good. But as far as a gut check, I mean, yeah, I mean, you don't have to get too far into watching that movie before you're like, it is very sad. I mean, hello. Yeah, you get to know all these different people. Anyway, yeah. So, and then for you guys, actually, that'll be kind of interesting. Let's go with the Monday. Unless you want Friday, I mean, either way is fine because there's no such thing as a blue or a green day. Bring in an e-copy or printed copy into class to do some peer review on your IA, okay? That'll give you a little bit more of an impetus to actually, no, you've already written it. I'm rewinding what I've said to my juniors. Start making the changes that I suggested and so forth. Some of you guys got more than others, but I think everybody in here, everybody who I've had the meeting with, even if they had to add some things and so forth to it, is in a good position. So just make it really good. And so we'll spend some time in class on that. Does that sound good? I mean, what would you prefer, the Friday before the Friday due date or the Monday? How many of you guys would say the Friday? Then you got the weekend as well? Yeah, just to in-class edit. Yeah, so for Friday? Okay, so that's fine, yeah. So that's what it would have been for you guys normally, because I don't see them. I wouldn't have seen them, but I will on that day. So have it electronically or printed so that you can trade off with one other person, or if there's an odd number or whatever, we'll have 3 people trade off. Does that make sense? Okay? And I think we're in pretty good shape. We'll continue moving forward on this. Yeah. This is good. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Mao Zedong in 1958 instituted a policy called the Great Leap Forward. And you can always get these ideas. We got Mao here. I'm showing the same images and so forth because you're going to be seeing it all on the video and so forth. So this is another mass campaign. The Great Leap Forward. I love these sort of like Chinese sort of things and so forth because you get this visual image. I'm going to make a great leap forward. What does that mean economically? A big boost in your economy. There we go. In fact, specifically, the goal is for China, I want to say like within, here we go. Within 15 years, they want to be equal to the West economically. Now, they've got a long way to go at that point because China's economy was very backward comparatively. But they figured, hey, the Soviet Union worked really hard. They did like their 5-year plans, and they did mass forced industrialization, that they could do that as well. So how's China going to be able to do this? This is where IB students, especially seniors, really can empathize quite a bit. How can you achieve all of your goals for getting the IB diploma within the space of 2 years, especially when some of that tends to be congregated a little bit more in your senior year, perhaps? I don't know. Here's the answer. You ready? Work day and night. Work day and night. You're like, sounds about right. Work day and night. Get the whole country to work day and night. And you're like, what about rest? Rest is for the weak. Here is the slogan. It's in your handout. The slogan is, catch the stars and moon. What does that translate to? Catch the stars and moon. When are the stars and moon out? At nighttime, yeah. So instead of sleeping, be awake. Continue working. And catch that star. Catch that moon. Right? It is. And there's going to be a lot of people, certainly in the early stages, are going to be very enthusiastic about it. Right? Because do the people of China want to have a stronger country? Yes. Have they given their trust and support to the communists to be in charge of the country? Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's like, how long had Mao been in charge of the country by 1958? 9 years, yeah. I mean, had they fought the United States to a draw in the Korean War? Yes. Okay. I mean, so some of the people, like the ones who participated in the Let 100 Flowers Bloom and so forth, some of the critics, you know how it is with critics. They're like, those people are so critical, they had it coming. Boom, boom, knocked them down. It's like, I never want to criticize anybody. Well, you know what? If you never want to criticize anybody, when the time comes for a need for criticism, and everybody who's normally willing to criticize is either dead or now cowed, I don't know. Imagine, think in your mind, all of the seniors, and something is amiss. A conversation needs to take place between the senior class and, I don't know, a teacher or administrator. Who do you picture as being your emissary, your go-to person? The one who is going to do that. The one who is eloquent. The one who is going to be able to pull it off without it like flying back in their face. Think of yourself and your family. Who is the sibling, if anyone, who can approach your parents to give the mood of the young people and so forth to stick it out? Okay? Actually, try this one. Who is the one in your family who will do that anyway, even though they probably shouldn't, and when they do, they don't necessarily do it in the best manner, and they get smacked down, right? I mean, so this is what's going on in China. Who can tell Mao that he's messing up? Nobody. Who would tell Mao? There might be some people, but what happened to those people? Yeah, I mean, like Mao allowed during the Let 100 Flowers Bloom, he allowed what group of people to be criticized by the masses? Yeah, the Communist Party people. Not him, but like the next level down and the next level, and even party leaders in villages and so forth. Okay? So, now they're going to institute this policy. Well, what's going to be part of this policy? It's all laid out very, very well in the video, and we'll get started on it if we can today. If not, then we'll definitely be getting into it on Monday. Enthusiasm, enthusiasm, enthusiasm. In fact, here is if you're going to have all these people working, you know what? Organize it so they can work even better. Write this down. Put villages together. Instead of just having a collective village, get several villages together and make a commune. Sometimes referred to as people's communes. All right? This is going to be kind of the next step, certainly during the Great Leap Forward. And this Great Leap Forward is going to go on for about 3-ish years. In fact, Mao saw that they had been, there was a commune, and somebody put up a sign that said, people's communes are good. And so Mao's like, yeah, that's what we really should do. So what does it mean? Here we go. As I mentioned, many villages come together into a commune. The day will be very regimented. I mean, if you're going to have people working day and night, you need to have a schedule. And you're going to need to have people there, shouting out enthusiasm and songs and and this and that. And so what other kinds of things are going to be sort of like not part of, young adults and middle-aged adults' lives during that time period when they're working? Oh, their family. No family life. What happens to the kids? It's like daycare. Day after day after day after day. Government wants you to work. You can't be bothered looking after your kids. Work. I mean, what about your own personal life with your personal, life partner thing? That's right. You guys are thinking, oh yeah, that's like all those IB memes. IB is life. IB is everything. When I finish IB, then I can return to my normal life and have it. No, actually. I mean, it was interesting because I remember, my brother talked to me, when I started law school. And law school is hard, right? And he's like, and people are going around going, law school is my life. I have to work at this. And I'm like, you know what? I don't work very well unless I have a little thing I like to call balance. Part of it's sleep, and part of it is some, recreational time. I'm going to make sure that's part of my thing. And I think a lot of people are like that because sometimes you can't hunker down and work on a project and really grind it out. But can you do that for 3 years without having some negative consequences? Yeah, it's interesting because Mia's doing her thing on Mohandas K. Gandhi. Hey, he helped get India free. What was the consequence to his family life? Did he have enough time for his family? Not so much. I don't know if you know people that just work, and you're like, Mom, Dad, or you guys, your parents are like, oh my gosh, this is your last year. You're going to go to college and take Zoom classes. Now, hopefully it's not going to be like that. But I mean, you're going to go away and they're looking at you like, I want to spend time with you. You're like, I'm so busy. I've got to do this and this and this and this and this and the IA. Yeah, so anyway, you can picture this. All right, China is in this full-on people's commune thing, right? Days regimented, no family life. And here's one of the things that they actually want to produce. You ready? This is really nuts. One of the measures of how industrialized a country is how much they produce in steel. You can write that down. So one way of saying, the United States back in those days was a major manufacturer of steel, a producer of steel. And of course you use steel for making all kinds of various other things. I mean, we still do make a fair amount of steel in the United States, although we do import a lot of it. But anyway, that's one measure. So what does the Chinese government decide is going to be a good thing for all these people to do in communes? Make steel. Okay? Have you guys ever made steel? We're going to do that as a cast project? Do you have any idea of what it would take to make steel? Anybody? What is steel? Yeah, it's an alloy. How do you get an alloy? Iron and nickel? So what do you have to take, you just dig up and, I found a nice bar of iron. Now I found another bar of nickel. It sounds like a kid's game or something. And then you got to melt them together? Oh, so there's some melting involved. What does it take in order to properly melt to create this steel alloy? A lot of heat. Write that down. You need massive, massive heat. Well, what if you don't have enough heat? What could possibly go wrong with the steel that you produce if you don't have enough heat? It's impure, yeah. It's not going to work for the purposes that it is. That's why if you see actual steel foundries, I don't know, have you guys ever seen like, well, I think it's Terminator 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and okay, all right, some of you guys may have had, all right, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean, they drive the truck into this big, huge steel foundry, and there's this massive amount of really, really hot steel being produced. It's like pouring like syrup, and it basically is hot, molten steel. I mean, you need a lot of fuel, a lot of heat to get to that point. So here's what you get. In these communes, they're building furnaces all over the place. Little furnaces. You see furnace after furnace after furnace. Little local backyard kind of furnace things to make steel. All right. So here's the deal. Where do you get the where do you get the materials to make the steel? What are you going to go out in the woods and like dig up and get some like iron ore and some nickel ore and what else is in the recipe? Are they going to mine it? No. You know where they're going to get the stuff to make the steel? They're going to take stuff that's already made of steel and metal, and they're going to melt it down. You're looking at me like that's crazy. It is. So they take all of this metal stuff from all over the place, right? Some of it, you know, perfectly fine, that's being used for perfectly fine. So they're going to like remake that into steel. And they're going to do what? How are they going to heat it? In the furnace, right? How are they going to get enough fuel? What kind of fuel are you going to use? What do you have, like, local available? If you had to make a fire at home for a furnace, what would you use? You guys are like, I'm going to use my North Star IB papers. Yeah, I remember the one year. It was fascinating. They organized. It was a lot of fun. The seniors, after they graduated, after IB, they had a gathering for the teachers, and they had a big bonfire. And they burned all these papers. There was a lot of English papers in there. They were burning all these papers. I mean, it was a lovely nighttime fuel thing. So that's what they're doing. They're just getting whatever they can get. Here's one of the things they'll tell you. It's like, if you need wood and there's not enough wood, I mean, it's like, where is some wood that you could, they're not really using it, dead people. They take caskets and they take the bodies out and they put the rotting, wood and so forth that have been used for caskets in order to create fuel for a hot furnace. Are the furnaces going to be hot enough? No. No. What are they going to do? They're going to have these furnaces going day after day, day after day, day after day. It looks like you're making a lot of steel. But are you really making a lot of quality steel? No. It is really stupid. It's useless. You take quality steel, you melt it down. You take quality metal products, you melt it down, and you get useless thing because you can't get it hot enough. Yeah. No, I don't think so. No, I mean, he's like, well, it depends on how long. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's like, that's messed up. That's dark. But, and this is a good question, mostly I think they just sort of put them back in the ground. They just take the wood, the casket part, and then just put the body back in the ground. Anyway, here's a slogan, right? And they say to themselves, to overtake England and catch up with America. That's a slogan. It's in your handout. That's one of the slogans associated with this People's Commune effort to make steel. Okay? Got that? Does it work? No. Is anyone going to tell anybody above that it's not working? It looks like they're doing it. Have you ever known somebody to be very, very busy doing something and really you're looking at it and you're like, they're pretty busy doing something that's not really going to amount to much? I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you're really busy doing something and then later you look back and go, that was just a waste of time? Oh, is that right? Oh, dear. Well, walk away from the television. I don't know. It was other things, yes. I mean, it is difficult because, how do you, get into a thing where you can concentrate? Even if these people wanted to concentrate to make better steel, did they have the means available to do that? You can't make backyard steel. It won't work. Okay? How about this one? Okay? But nobody says anything because they're afraid to. Why are they afraid to? Melody, why are they afraid to say anything that this is a stupid thing going on? Yeah, because they're afraid. Yeah, you're going to be criticized and you're going to get in trouble. Okay? How about this one? Increase farm output. Let's write this one down. Increase farm output. Because part of this is to actually, make more crops so that you can take the excess and sell them off in the international market or wherever. I mean, not so much the international market, but you can sell them, maybe to the neighboring countries, whatever. And then you take that value and you invest it into, like, I don't know, infrastructure and factories and hydroelectric dams and so forth. So, question, how do you make more farm output? Do you guys know anything about farming? How can you make the ground produce more? I mean, do you guys do gardening? What could you add to the ground that might increase the productivity of the ground? Fertilizer. Write that down. Fertilizer. I mean, is that news to farmers in China? No, of course. Fertilizer works. Spread the poop out. And you're wondering, like, what kind of poop? This is why you don't eat raw vegetables in China. Because I don't want to make you real gross or sick or anything like that, but because some of the fertilizer is got human content. And if you have human content and it's got disease and so forth in it, and you're like chawing down on like a carrot or a chunk of lettuce or so forth, and you don't have those immunities if you're from outside the country, you're going to get sick. You're going to pick up some of those things that are passed along through human fertilizer. Okay, there's a fair amount of that in a lot of parts of the world, including China. The United States, do they use much human fertilizer? I don't think. No. She's like, no, no. We use. Yeah, go to like a supply store. Steer manure. I'm not going to go any further on that one, but yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but I'm going to leave it right there. We're just going to let it drop. Yeah, pardon the expression. Yes, but here we go. So how about more fertilizer? How about that? If you can get more production from fertilizer, just put more fertilizer on it. Shh, what do you know about it, you naysayer? We're going to have a struggle meeting against you. Here's what some of the people in the community do. They take like this, they dig a big hole, right, like about the size of a pool. You'll hear the guy talk. And they put all their fertilizer in there and the seed. And they're going to grow dense stalks of rice, if you're in the rice growing area, or wheat, if you're in a wheat growing area. It just grows denser. Can you grow more food in a limited amount of acreage by just planting it closer and putting more fertilizer on it? You're right. No, you can't. Because one of the things that plants need is space. But if you're thinking efficiency, just plant it really close. Oh my gosh. And you know what? You know who doesn't understand stuff like that? People who aren't farmers. People in the city, some of the communist officials who are like, oh, I don't know, I saw this picture. This is a picture that fools people. It looks like it is children standing upon closely grown rice stalks. They're so close together that they can support the weight of children. So if you can do that, if you can grow rice so close together, look how much rice you can grow in an acre. Don't spread it out. Grow it all close together. It'll work, and it'll support the weight of children. Is that true? No, it's false. It's fake. That's false. But people believe it. You have to be careful in life sometimes, because there'll be stuff that'll be floating out there and floating out there, and if it comes from a source that you consider credible, or that you're afraid to really check to see if it's credible, or other people are afraid, and since nobody else is complaining about it, it must be credible, and if it's the government, what happens then? I mean, what could possibly go wrong then? Here's the deal. All of these different communes want to be successful. They want to produce more steel. They want to have more farm output, right? And in fact, they come up with slogans. You ready? Here's the slogan. This is where we chime it in. You see the one that says the corn will grow higher the more you desire? What the heck is that supposed to mean? If you want corn to grow well, what do you really need to do? Be smart. I mean, to spray, yeah. I mean, smart farmers, they'll be smart, and, they can pray and so forth and so on. But do you still have to do smart farming techniques? But this is sort of like the corn will grow higher the more you desire, and you come up with various different things. Well, here's where it gets dangerous. Okay, I'll take the question first. That's a slogan, yeah. That was one of the slogans. That was one that Mao saw that's like, yay, let's do communes. And so now we got the communes, they're making steel, they're organizing agricultural production, and now those communes, the communists who are in charge of like administering the communes and so forth, those communist officials, they're making goals, right? How many of you guys have ever made a goal and then it actually didn't turn out quite right? Yeah, I mean, it's like, hello. It's like, what I'm going to do during the break. Yeah, well, the break's over. Yeah. So these communist officials are going to claim higher output. They're not just going to think that corn is going to grow more or more rice production and so forth. They're actually going to say, we are going to deliver that. And so therefore, if you're going to deliver that, then you give, if you inflate your production target, and then you take a percentage of that, and you give it to the state so that they can sell it off and so forth, that's what the state is going to take. Write it down. The state is going to take that portion of which you said you were going to produce. Well, what if you don't meet your production goal? Well, that's embarrassing. Don't say you don't meet the production goal. Well, do you want to have a higher production goal than that commune over there beyond the horizon? Heck yeah. You want to compete. There is competition among communes to have higher and higher goals in order to please Mao, to, quote unquote, launch satellites to heaven. I mean, these guys are not shy in their goals. They want to have a greater industrial output. But heck, China wants to jump into the whole space program. Send satellites up like the Russians and the United States have been doing. And they want to get involved in that. Oh, by the way, did you know who just landed something on the moon recently? China did, yeah. I mean, China's actually there. I mean, some of these goals have been put off for a while, but they have the resources now to actually have a really fully robust space program. Okay, but back then it was like a slogan. So it's like if we have a higher production goal for agriculture and we promise that the state is going to be able to get all this stuff, then we're going to be able to help launch satellites for heaven. It makes us feel really good. But then when the state comes by and actually takes the grain based on the actual amount, there's not going to be enough to feed the people in the commune. Write it down. There's not going to be enough to people. Feed it. And if you try and tell them, hey, you know, we're not meeting the goal, we need to adjust that goal, sorry, you know. I know it. I thought I could get it done. I thought this was going to work out much better. But we do still need to eat. The goals aren't adjusted. The grain is taken away. The grain goes to feed people in the cities because, you know, they can't grow their own grain, to repay debt and so forth. Or sometimes, and this is the real sad part, sometimes there's so much grain taken from the villages, but there's not really the apparatus to actually store it properly. You know how that works? It just goes to waste in warehouses, left to rot. Yeah. Yeah, if you want people to be fed, you need to grow the food, you need to process the food, you need to transport the food, you need to get it into people's houses. It's a process. And if you mess up along part of the way, or like in this, it's the initial stage, you took too much food, then that's really bad. There was one person in particular who was pretty high up. This is Peng Dehuai. They talk about Peng Dehuai. He was like the military general in charge of much of the Korean War effort for China. And he was part, of course, of the Chinese Civil War of the communists. And so, I mean, he knew Mao when Mao was a young man and so forth. Marshal Peng Dehuai, in 1959, actually went to Mao and basically was criticizing him because he was looking at what was going on. He's like, man, this needs to be changed. How do you suppose Mao took that criticism? Very bad, yeah. And basically he was like, man, forget it. And Mao is like, you'll hear him say, look, you can defy me, you can go against me, but you know what I'll do? I'll just take the People's Liberation Army and go up in the hills and wage revolutionary combat on you. I mean, I've heard kids who don't like how things are going in an athletic competition, taking the ball and going home, but this brings it up to a whole new level. Don't criticize Mao. Do Deng Xiaoping and Liu Shaoxi realize that it's not working? And Joe and Lai, the other top ones, do they realize it's not working? Do they say anything to Mao? So the production goals are not cut. The Great Leap Forward continues into 1960, 1961. Millions of peasants are starving. You'll actually hear it. It's actually very, very sad, very profound. You'll hear testimony of what people do when there's not enough food. They eat dirt. They eat dirt, fine ground dirt. Because you've got to have something in your mouth. Of course, what does dirt do when you go through your digestive system? It kills you. How about this? Will they allow the peasants to go into the cities to beg for food? No. Will this be reported on in the news? No. News of the famine is censored. You're like, wow, I've got some insight. So if something's really going badly on a countrywide basis, are you going to have that accurately reported in the news? COVID. Not necessarily, because otherwise that makes the government look really bad and Mao look really bad. So over 3 years, you've already got the details. I gave you the figure already. Over 3 years, best estimate, how many people die? 30 million, largest famine in history. Man-made. Although, eventually the Chinese government will go, well, I think it had to do with flooding and big rains, and that was like really bad for this, that, and so forth. So, let's start watching the video, shall we? See. Yeah, and you're like, oh, well, the next episode's got to be much calmer. Wait till we get to the great proletarian cultural revolution. And you have young people running around with little red books, having struggle meetings with everyone left, right, and center. That's going to be crazy. All right, so we're going to stop it right here. I'll click this part right here.